Here we are up in Canada on a farm in Ontario. George's farm. Dave Global Reports, reporting on nations at risk. We're just going to ask George here a couple of questions. Get some inside information. There you go. Hi, George.
Hi there, Dave.
How's it going today?
Well, not too bad.
So,
it's,
I want your view.
I
want your view about nations at risk, including Canada. And what's your message here, George?
Well, my message is I think we're going to have to individually take a lot more responsibility for our peace and safety than rely on governments or these global institutions to provide it for us. It seems like there's an awful lot of Orwellian newspeak in their lingo. Got a couple of papers here from September where they're not just identifying people to track them anymore, they're out to identify
1 second, let me get in this. Yeah.
all the food that's being produced.
50 million for food safety.
This is just in Canada. This is a jumpstart program for a global food industry management registry.
Rapid changing world power.
Rapid change in world power. You see the shift with this bank fiasco in the States, where it looks like the Federal Reserve is tightening their grip. Increased regulations, and it's a bailout, unfortunately, by American taxpayers that they don't realize yet is what's being tried to be put into place here.
Okay, what's the solution, George?
I don't know if there's a real quick solution, but people need to become aware, educated, aware of the rapidly changing world around them, and that there are power interests that are out there to take advantage of them. And they've already talked in terms of food shortages globally, and you can see the regulatory regime they're implementing and trying to turn food into fuel. There's a whole lot of programs from these international levels that are being downloaded on people that will create food shortages for sure.
Okay. And I see you're a grain farmer here, and what are your concerns about growing your own grain on your land at the moment?
Well, I think that is a very big concern, because here again, central control by large corporations like Monsanto and Syngenta, and the governments seem to be in their pocket, and they're mailing out to farmers here in Ontario and no doubt around the world.
Grain Farmers of Ontario, GFO.
Yeah, that is, they call it another GFO. They had a GFO vote 30 years ago for a general farm organization. At that time, the concern is all about the money. They claimed there was too much food, and it was a challenge of abundance at the time. And this challenge of abundance is being turned into a challenge of
money grabbing.
Challenge of insufficient food now. And it's all about the money. They want to form monopolies. They want a monopoly over the grain farmers of Ontario, where they can't sell their grain to any grain buyer anymore. It has to go through a monopoly marketing board. And so these marketing boards are now being used to dispossess both farmers and consumers of their ability to feed themselves in the way they
want to get their hands on your grain.
They seem to want to get their hands on what used to be my grain. Unfortunately, Monsanto, I read where 95% of the farmers in the United States grew GMO soybeans. So those are already out of the farmers' hands. They're the property of Monsanto. And Monsanto is truly a global corporation that's doing this around the world in countries.
And that's growing soya with no weeds, right?
Well, with no weeds is the excuse they're using, but I think the bottom line is who's going to own the food. Yeah. And if you think you've been paying for fuel lately, I hate to think when they get control of food what we'll be paying.
Doing here, George?
We're just taking a look at a bean field here of soybeans. Yeah, it's I guess less than 0.1% of the soybean crop in North America in 2008 that isn't genetically modified.
So no pesticides on this field.
No pesticides and no chemicals.
I can see the weeds are growing. I can see the weeds are growing nicely here.
Yeah, they don't seem to. That's not a bad sign. It's diversity. It was a rather wet year in 2008, and so this particular plant, known as ragweed, had a field day.
Oh, right.
It adapts very well to wetter weather.
But the soil looks good.
The bean crop doesn't look too bad. It's this year was a kind of a difficult year, but it looks like we better get at it. We're
dry.
Yeah, I would say they're ready to go. So
was it 2% moisture on there?
I would think no, we're more like 13% here. All right. So, but they are dry enough that. Yeah. Well, it's all part of the corporate agenda to make us nothing more than another capital input into the system. They're already calling us human resources for their purposes. And so I think people, unfortunately, it's going to take a little while until you feel the repercussions of this, which we increasingly will. We'll be slow to change, but change will come.
Change will come through education, no, George?
Through education and being aware of the truths versus the deceptions. And I highly recommend, Scripture has an awful lot of truth in there that gives good direction into how to live a life if you want to be free.
Are you free, George?
Not as free as I was a few years ago, I don't believe, because I'm spending too much time watching these government programs. They mail me, I have this mail out here, they're wanting my opinion. They call it a vote. And I mean, it's fairly clear when you read it, it's simply more information collecting.
Ontario.
It's, yeah, Grain Farmers of Ontario. Expression of opinion, a vote. Where did these people come? This just came out of the blue. Fabricated by who? 10 years ago, people would be embarrassed to have their name associated with a document like that. It is just the way it's presented, it's a fraud. It's all about collecting information on the source of food on farms, for taking control of its movement. And when you control the movement, you can control the value added to that food.
Looks like a no to this one then.
Yes.
Confidential, it says here, George.
Confidential for who? It's very this information now is confidential. It's safely and secure in my possession. And if it wants to remain private, it has to remain in my possession. Once I share it with this global organization that intends to be part of a global food registry, obviously I'm selling out, and I'm selling the consumers out by joining this monopoly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll overcome this in time, and
keep fighting,
the Great Deceiver.
George?
Yes, there is. You see, against the Great Deceiver, I have a great ally in this fellow that I think is pretty well known around the world as Jesus Christ. And it's really a big help to check out his leadership, because he certainly is the way, the truth, and the life that we should, if we want to enjoy our experience on earth, I think follow his lead, and it'll be certainly a pleasant experience.
Okay, Judge, it was a pleasant experience talking with you.
Thanks,
thank
Dave.
you very
Good to
much.
see you.
Good to see you too, Judge. Get back to work now.
All righty.
Good man.
Yeah.
Whoa.